Hi guys, welcome to a video. I'm using my microphone because I'm putting more effort into my YouTube videos. So I wanted to make this video today because this is actually a question from a viewer who, I sound like I'm a radio host, that's so weird. It was just a question somebody asked me on here, and it was, how do I deal with homophobia? I think I briefly touched on homophobia, but I don't think I talked much about how I actually deal with it. This isn't so much going to be a video on what homophobia is or explaining the history of homophobia and all that BS. This is more just like an honest video about how I deal with it and some of the ways in which I experience it, I guess. And I think it is really relevant because whilst the internet is lesbian Disneyland, real life is also sometimes shitty and homophobic. So I'm oppressed. I wrote some notes. So homophobia, if you've been living under a rock, is defined as dislike of or prejudice against homosexual people like me and Elton John. He did have a wife, so, you know, but I'm just, he's gay. He's gay. That's basically a group of people who have a problem with who I have a relationship with, which sounds really fucked up and invasive and weird and strange. But yeah, that is what homophobia is. Just people who have a problem or a dislike of me having a shred of happiness in this awful life. That is what those people are. There's really two areas of my life that I experience homophobia, and the first is online. Obviously I get homophobic abuse online. I'm someone who is openly gay online. This channel is me being like, I'm a lesbian, what up? And also in real life, I have to say the only real time I experience homophobia in real life is when I'm being visibly gay in public with another woman, like holding hands or kissing. It's just any kind of affection. I'm not talking about gratuitous affection because I know everybody has like their own opinions on gratuitous affection, but I'm just literally talking about any fucking display of fucking affection. I also have to insert here that I'm privileged in the fact that I live independently. I think a lot of the frustrations I hear about from you guys are from you may be experiencing homophobia from family members. Some of you know my story. Again, if you don't, it was in the Truth About My Sexuality video. My mum was homophobic towards me, and I do come from a homophobic background, but it was more casual homophobia rather than like insane homophobia. It was just kind of like ignorance and a dislike of it. A huge thing for me growing up was removing myself from circles that were homophobic and toxic, and unfortunately that does sometimes mean cutting people you've been really good friends with. And of course, cutting toxic people out of your life extends to family members. So a huge part of my journey with homophobia and my own sexuality was cutting people out who were toxic. And as I've said, I'm privileged because I can support myself independently. You know, despite mental health and stuff, I don't have to really answer to anybody, and that makes me privileged because I'm not relying on family financially. What I want to stress, and I can't stress this enough to gay people watching this video, is your happiness comes first. Your self-preservation and your own comfort comes before anybody else's when we're talking about homosexuality, because this is a part of you, it's who you are, and if people don't like that, fuck them. I know it's not that easy for everybody, and then that's where the kind of turmoil comes in, because what do you do if you love somebody and they don't accept this part of you? That's really difficult. There are ways to work around that, but you shouldn't have to change or bend yourself to fit in with what anybody thinks that you should be. That's something you need to know. It also isn't up to you as a gay person to keep educating other people about your existence. You know, we live in the age of the internet. If somebody's really confused about what being gay is, they can like Google it, you know. It's really not a hard concept to understand. Now, when I'm on the street, I'm experiencing that. It's difficult. I haven't always handled it in the best way. Sometimes I have lashed back out verbally. That is obviously quite dangerous because it could escalate. It really kind of depends what mood I'm in. Water off a duck's back is the best approach. I'd say don't let it ruin your day. gay. If anything, it's laughable that they still have that mindset in this day and age. It's like, who thinks like that anymore, you know? Knuckle draggers. Homophobia is just not relevant to me. I'm past it. There's nothing you can say or do which is really gonna resonate with me, because I'm past having any insecurity about it. Again, I live in a country where if somebody I felt was crossing a line, I may be inclined to record their behaviour, or I may be inclined to report their behaviour, only because I wouldn't want them repeating that with other gay people. If it's somebody you know giving you a lot of grief and you do care about that person, it's up to you if you want to take the time to educate them. It may not be a lost cause. I've definitely spoken to people who are, again, casually homophobic. They'll say something homophobic, I'll explain my side of the story, like I'll explain how I feel, and then afterwards they at least see things from my point of view. So sometimes it's not always a lost cause having a conversation, but as I say, pick your battles very carefully with that. Talking about privilege in this country, again, like I'm mostly protected from, I'm not protected from people kind of, you know, abusing me on the street, because as nobody is protected against that, you can't predict that happening. But in things like my workplace and just in general, if somebody committed a hate crime against me, hopefully there'd be consequences. I haven't had the best experiences with the law in this country. Legally, there's supposed to be consequences. So speaking of privilege and, you know, me sitting here in front of a camera talking about homophobia and me being gay, and there are people all around the world who watch this channel, and, you know, sometimes I debate the worth of this channel and me being a presence on here, and I'm reminded so much that my way of living isn't even a possibility for some gay people in other countries. And that's why I think it's important that I kind of speak up about this kind of stuff and keep my ugly face on here. Homophobia was essentially brainwashing by shitty, ignorant people. That's what it is. It's an objective truth about homophobia that a lot of it stems from that. It was just what people were taught to think. So a lot of the work that we're trying to do in this day and age is undo that way of thinking and bring it back to decency and common sense almost. But essentially, self-love equals self-preservation, and people dealing with homophobia just need to know themselves that they're not wrong. And it goes without saying, it's completely natural, it's great, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're amazing. I'm so happy to be gay. You should be happy also if you're gay. If you're not, my condolences. And it's just about knowing yourself and loving yourself for who you are. And that leads to self-preservation and hopefully some kind of a life that is also hopefully filled with happiness. I mean, I think that's what we all want, but I think it goes double for gay people because it's been so hard for us to live our truth in the past. Once you've accepted yourself and you're comfortable with it, what other people say will have no bearing on your own happiness. I could have just said that, but I just sat here and I rambled. My God. I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. Bye.